Everybody, Mo Hashim here with Flat Fee Landlord Property Management, serving the greater DC area. That includes Northern Virginia, Washington DC, and Maryland. And today I want to go over having pets in your property. You know, this is a home that maybe you have lived in at one point, maybe you grew up in, or you raised your family in, you got your first house, and you've kind of outgrown it, so now you got to move out. You've got a sentimental and emotional bond with this property, and number one, you're hesitant to even rent it out to anybody. But B, you also want to make sure that whoever does end up renting out the property treats it well. And obviously, the less people or less individuals you have in a property, most likely the less damage you're going to have in a property, okay? That same thought is going to go with pets, okay? The less humans or the less animals in a house will probably lead to a lower amount of damage in a property, which to most, it's a good thought process and it makes sense. However, as whether you're a real estate investor or just a landlord that owns one property and renting out your own house, I will tell you this as somebody that manages several hundreds of properties in the area, you don't want to limit yourself, and you definitely don't want to limit yourself by excluding a good portion of good tenants, okay? And right now I'm going to go over some good practices or a good frame of mind to have when it comes to renting out your property and considering pets in your rental home, all right? So number one, as you're advertising your property for rent, you want to make sure that you don't cut off probably over half the population that has a pet, okay? So you want to be open to everybody, and you want to have options as a landlord when it comes to who you're going to rent out your property to. So you don't want to right off the bat say absolutely no pets, because what that does is it, like I just said, cuts off half the population in the world that does have pets, and it probably cuts off the other 20-some% that say they don't have pets but actually do. Now those people are okay. We don't want the liars in our properties anyways, right? But the people that do have pets and are good tenants and show a good history of rental history with previous landlords, they have pets that don't damage the property, they're very respectful of rental property, you don't want to cut those people out as well, okay? Now in addition to that, there are some pets that may cause more damage than others, okay? A lot of times when you're advertising your property for rent, there's not too many options on whether you're on Zillow, Craigslist, whatever it may be, for the type of pet that you are excluding or would allow, okay? So for example, let's say your tenant has a goldfish, okay? Technically that's a pet, but when you are uploading it into the different websites to advertise it, it only gives you the option of, do you allow pets, yes or no? So what I recommend when you are advertising your property for rent is to keep the pets section on a case-by-case basis. And what that will do is it doesn't cut people out right off the bat. It still allows people to inquire about your property, but it then also allows you to find out what kind of pet that tenant has. All right, so if it's a big, 150-pound pet that they got, you can ask them, and you can see what kind of, obviously the bigger the pet, possibly the bigger wear and tear that it may put on your property versus possibly a smaller pet that may not put as much wear and tear. You can decipher that, and you can kind of figure out what you're okay with and what you're not okay with before you even show the property to your prospective tenant. So if you leave it on a case-by-case basis, you're not cutting people off right off the bat. You're allowing them to inquire, and then which in turn allows you to inquire and find out, hey, what kind of pet do you have? How many of those pets do you have? And then from there, you can make an educated decision on whether you want to move forward with that pet or not move forward with that pet. Now, assuming you do move forward with the pet and you're okay with the size and the type, then what I would also recommend on top of that is to have an additional security deposit or pet payment for that pet. Now, like I said at the beginning of this video, the more individuals or more pets or more breathing, living things inside your property, the higher probability of higher wear and tear and damage in your property. So you want to make sure you're protecting yourself as a landlord for that. So whether it's adding additional security deposit or a monthly payment because of the pet, I'd certainly recommend doing that because you want to make sure you're recouping any possible wear and tear costs that you're going to have to do once that tenant moves out for you to repair because you've had that pet. You want to make sure you've had that extra money all along, whether it be in a form of a deposit or a one-time payment or a monthly payment. You want to make sure you have more money to compensate for that repair of the wear and tear or whatever it may be because you allowed that pet in the first place. So those are my recommendations for pets. If you have any other questions about pets, what kind of pets you should allow, what kind of pets you are legally obligated to allow, which I didn't go into. Service animals, for example, unfortunately you don't have a say on whether or not you're going to include them, but there are ways to protect yourself still as a landlord if a tenant says they have a service animal. If you have questions about that or anything in regards to property management or renting out your property, you can go to our website at flatfeelandlord.com or call us at any one of our local DC area offices.